Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you all to this live session of the course Sandhi in Paninian Grammar. First of all, I would like to say that I could not organize more such sessions initially, and also later on. That was primarily due to some medical condition I was going through, something to do with my voice, which was not up to the mark, and I was facing quite a lot of problems. Even my classroom teaching I have to do even now with the help of the microphone. So there were some issues there. I couldn't concentrate on several things at that point in time. But nonetheless, now let us have this session. And I profusely thank all who have commented, who have asked questions on the email list. I have tried to respond to many of the questions. There are some typos, some mistakes which I have noted down, and we will rectify them soon. So please write to us, write to me, and I will surely rectify any error that has crept into the contents. I've taken care that this does not happen, and still it has happened. So I thank you for pointing out. Now we can proceed further with some other questions or comments. So I have collected almost 14 points from the email conversations. Some of them I have already answered. Some of them I have not. Probably I'll try to do that. So okay, so here is a question. Let us address that first. Oh, this is an important question. Rupa Krishna is asking, I would like to know if the final output of the Sandhi resolution can only be used in a sentence, or one can use the intermediate output also while forming a sentence. For instance, in case of Bhavan plus Tikate, can we use Bhavar plus Tikate, which is an intermediate output while forming a sentence instead of bhavam shtikate, which is the ultimate output. Thank you for asking this question. This is very important. And the answer to this question is straight. No, you cannot use bhavar tikate, which is an intermediate output, while forming a sentence. You have to use bhavam shtikate, which is the finally derived form in this derivation process. This is the case-specific answer. And to give you a general answer, in any derivation process, unless that process is over, you cannot use any intermediate output unless specified by option or something else. You cannot use it as the a part of the sentence, as a finished word, which is eligible to be part of the sentence. That cannot be done. You have to have the final output, which is eligible to be produced, to be used as part of the sentence. So in general, in each and every derivation process, not just in case of sandhi, but in other processes also, the intermediate outputs are not to be used, are not allowed to be used. The system is such that they remain intermediate outputs and are not to be used in the final sentence. Primarily because if you look at the data consists of data consists of the final outputs. The data does not consist of any intermediary output, so to speak. So in a way, what grammar is doing, what Paninian grammar is doing after all, is providing some rules to follow and to derive the forms that are actually spoken by people using those grammatical rules. This is why the intermediary forms are not to be used in the sentence. Of course, you cannot do this with Sanskrit, but imagine you have a grammar of, let's say, your mother tongue, and this grammar consists of a similar kind of derivation process. And as a speaker of the native tongue, your mother tongue, if you prefer the intermediary output, you may potentially at least have a chance of being able to use that output. And then if it gains popularity, if it gains currency, then probably the grammarians will have to notice it. But even in that case, it is very difficult. So the answer is this, that the intermediary output is not to be used or is not eligible for the use in the sentence. So we'll have to use bhavam shtikate and it cannot be bhavar tikate. Or you don't do the samhita and use the vyasta prayoga. So you utter the word bhavan, take a break, use some seconds, and then utter the word tikate, bhavan and tikate. But if you are using them in close proximity, then the final output that you must produce and use in the form of a sentence is bhavam shtikate. Okay. The next question is the Paninian grammar course that was held in January 22 a prerequisite for this course? In a way, yes, because lots of basic concepts are explained therein, like what is Paninian meta language and what are the features of what are the meanings of the cases and so on. In detail, these things are explained over there. What are the features of the sounds produced by the process of speech production described in the Paninian sources? That is also part of the earlier course. But still, of course, one will gain an enhanced knowledge of the sandhis if one does the course on the introduction to Paninian grammar beforehand. But even without that, one can gain more insights into what sandhi is through this particular course. And yes, introduction to Paninian grammar, this course is um, going to be repeated in January 2023. And perhaps, and there is one more course that is also coming up, which is on samasa. Okay, so the books for practice exercises of sandhi are the ones where, of course, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the very celebrated and the seminal text of the philosophy, is taken as an example. So I know that the edition published by Chaukhamba, Chaukhamba Press of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, where each and every verse is analyzed meticulously, not just the sandhi, but also various other features of the language are analyzed and shown and described. So that would be a very good book to refer to. Also, there are books prepared by Rashtriya Sanskrit Samsthan, now Kendriya Sanskrit Samsthan, precisely once again on Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And of course, there are many other applications developed for Sandhi resolution. There are many such tools and applications available which help um, one get a good practice of the resolution of the Sandhi or also making the Sandhi. But I must say that this is not just a mechanical process. It should not remain a mechanical process because there is quite a lot of lexicon that is required. I mean, if you do it mechanically, then there are multiple choices, multiple options that are thrown up, which again pose a problem, namely overgeneration. So if you are reading a particular text, of course, application of an individual is of utmost importance. So using the tools as well as the rules is extremely important. I would advise you to prepare yourself very well with the help of the rules and try to develop a skill with the help of this course, of course, and any other material that you may get, a skill to decipher the sandhi and also to do the sandhi. That is, I think, extremely important because that will enable you to read any text, any given Sanskrit text. That will also be helpful if you want to decipher a particular text from a particular script, a different script, if you are reading a manuscript, say, for example. Okay. So for the exam, are we required to remember all sutras in detail or only the applications? That is a question. So the answer to this question is some in some manner specific and some manner general also. What I would say is that If you remember the patterns that are visible, that are explained by the sutras primarily, and of course, the sutras also, I think that would stand you in good stead because the aim of imparting this knowledge is to enable you to be able to decipher any text on your own. So if you put in some more effort to remember the sutras, I think this will stand you in very good stead. Then the next question is, will you be taking classes for the rest of the sutras of Paninian Ashtadhyayi other than Sandhi Sutras in the near future on NPTEL platform? So next semester, along with the introduction to Paninian grammar, I will be offering a course on Samasa in Paninian grammar. This course is approved and I am preparing for it, and I will run this new course from the next semester, and then perhaps uh, in future similar topics will also be dealt with. So yes, I have plans to deal with some more topics dealt with in the Paninian grammar other than Sandhi. Samasa is one, and there are some more which I will offer. The next question is how we can decide what are the aspects that is followed from last sutras while analyzing the present sutra. This is a very, very valid question. And the point is that you need to have the text of Ashtadhyayi in front of you. So when I teach Paninian grammar to my students, I always tell them to, whenever I teach also Siddhanta Kaumudi, I tell them to come prepared with the text of the Ashtadhyayi in their hand or in their head, which means either they have completely memorized the text of Ashtadhyayi or at least they have a book of Ashtadhyayi in front of them. Because whenever we discuss about a particular sutra, we always have to go back to some other sutras from which certain words do continue in the present sutra to make the complete meaning of the present sutra under consideration. But it is primarily because of this fact also that even in this course, I have been constantly in the beginning referring to the adhikaras. So, for example, in the vowel sandhi, constantly I have been referring to ekapurva parayoho, just in order to say that the five ach sandhis, types of ach sandhis, namely the Guna Sandhi, Vriddhi Sandhi, Pararupa Sandhi, Savarna Dirgha Sandhi, and the Purvarupa Sandhi, they all are governed by this Adhikara Ekah Purva Parayoho. So whenever you make the meaning of these sutras, you can never forget, you can never do away with Ekah Purva Parayoho. So if you interpret these sutras describing these five types of sandhis, invariably they will have to be described as one substitute in place of two substituents. So that is an effort of mine highlighting precisely this particular factor, which shows which words are primarily continued. And then, of course, there are some specific elements which do continue, and I have referred to those elements again and again in the course of these lectures. So as we have learned Sandhi recently only, in the exam, shall we first make a chart or brain map for all main Sandhis on a rough sheet provided in this exam center and then start solving the paper? I think you may not be allowed to do all that. Probably, I think you should make a map of all main sandhis with yourself and should keep it in the memory and should be able to refer to it anytime needed. Okay. The next question is in assignment 3, question number 4, which states what would be the vigraha of Yan Sandhi in the word Maheshwasaha. Why is Maha Ishvasa Gunasandhi a wrong answer? Because we are asking about Yan Sandhi and not about Gunasandhi. What what is attempted over here is to bring to light the adesha or the sandhi that has happened. So the precise point to be drawn over here is that what is the substitute in case of yan sandhi that you have to concentrate. So I know that this word can be split using the guna sandhi rules also. That is true, but that is the question. So what is the substitute in case of yan sandhi? Obviously, A cannot be the substitute in case of yan sandhi. It has to be yan. So we have to focus on yan, and then we have to develop a technique. We have to develop a knack of breaking this ver, the grapheme ver, which consists of two symbols, namely a symbol of the consonant ver and a symbol of the vowel and then this ver, which is the substitute in case of yan sandhi, needs to be taken back to its substituent. And that would be the yan sandhi dissolution of this Maheshvasa. Had I asked you about the Guna Sandhi, then what you have said is correct, but definitely not as far as yan sandhi is concerned. So the next point is that Maheshu and Asaha. So that offers you alternative explanation of the same word, Maheshu and Asaha. So if Maheshu is, which means that if there are three elements, Maha, Ishu, and Asa, the question is which two are to be joined first? Should Maha and Ishu be joined first, or Ishu and Asa be joined first? If you join Ishu and Asa first, then obviously you are going to get Ishvasa and then Maha Ishvasa. But if you join Maha plus Ishu first, then you are going to get Maheshu and then Asa, and then obviously you are going to get the Yan Sandhi applying. So these are all intricacies, intricate points which need to be brought to fore. So the idea here is to focus on highlighting the adesha, the sandhi, which is yan sandhi, the substitute. In this case, it could be ver, which means that any ver, wherever you find ver, you should be able to identify that this has some potential of getting broken in accordance with the yan sandhi rules. Now that you will decide further by checking about the vocabulary which is part of the lexicon or which is not. So in this manner, the sandhis will then be further checked and further be studied. Of course, as I said, this will open up a new light, a new path of interpretation. And several scholars have indeed adopted such sandhi explanations. Yeah, so Mahan Ishvasaha, this is one explanation. When you join Ishu and Asa first, But if you join Mahan and Ishu first, then it is the great arrow, and Asa is the Asa can be said to be derived from the verbal root asa. Asa means to throw. So actually, Ishwasa can also mean 1 second. Continue. Okay. So in case of Ishwasa, um, we can have these um, other explanations also. However, they may stand a chance of getting accepted as well as rejected. But if it is asked to give a Yan Sandhi resolution, then obviously the focus should be on the substitute of the Yan Sandhi. Whether the broken segments are acceptable by grammar or not, that needs to be checked later on. Okay. In assignment 5, question 5, why is Bhanu plus Avaha a wrong answer? So yeah, I request you to post this into the email forum and I will check the exact question and then we'll be able to answer this question. But it seems to me, in general, it seems to me that it has got something to do with the particular focus. Probably the question is focused on some aspect like it was in case of Mahesh Vasa. Okay, so in assignment 6, Mama Eva Mameva, however, this is marked incorrect. Yeah, yeah. So give me 1 second. Let me. Okay, I've been following your method of teaching only for learning. It is definitely very, very beneficial. Besides that, can you suggest any strategy for revision and self-practice till the exam? Yes, so okay. So the strategy for revision and self-practice would be to take the text of Bhagavad Gita um, and try to dissolve the sandhis by application of the rules that we have learned over here. And as I am going to show in this last week, how we can adopt different strategies in doing so, if those are adopted, you'll be able to get a proper grip of those sandhis. Generally, when I learned and when I teach students, I give such texts and then ask them what is the substitute and what is the sandhi that is potentially being here. Then I ask them the sutra to quote because of which, because of whose application the sandhi has taken place. Then I also ask them the meaning of the sutra. And then I also ask them to point out the environment amongst many the specific environment because of which the particular sandhi has taken place. Now, if you do this procedure, this surely helps you in all different aspects, namely that you know the source because of which all this is happening. You also know exactly what is happening, what is the environment, and what is the exact substitute which causes a particular kind of sutra to apply. So if you follow this particular method, you will be able to, on your own, also progress quite a lot and will be able to apply the rules of Sandhi to given Sanskrit text. Okay, so the question is Mama Eva, however, this is marked incorrect. Any reason, sir? So the point is that if if we follow the Pararupa Sandhi Sutra, which is Ingi Pararupam, where there is a Vartika which says Eve Chani Yoge. So when there is Aniyoga and the so when there is Aniyoga, where Niyoga means Avadharana. So Niyoga means some kind of emphasis. So if there is no emphasis, then only you do the Pararupa Sandhi. So if there is an emphasis, we should not do the Pararupa Sandhi. So if there is a Niyoga, for example, if you open the Vyakarana Siddhanta Kaumudi, there is a Pratyudaharana, there is a question asked, Aniyoge Kim? So why do you say only Aniyoge? Which indicates that if there is no Aniyoge, then this sutra, this Vartika, would apply everywhere, but it should apply only in case of Aniyoga, non-emphasis. If there is emphasis, then don't apply this Pararupa Sandhi, rather apply the Vriddhi Sandhi. That is the answer. Then why there is no Dirgha Lu? Now, to be very honest, we don't know the answer for this question. Why there is no Dirgha Lu? But this has been stated right from the earlier times. And we should also remember that the great Patanjali, who wrote the great Mahabhashya, Vyakarana Mahabhashya, also is at a loss as to how this particular grapheme corresponds to a sound symbol. The Indian tradition has remarkably, so far, preserved this particular grapheme. But sadly, the phoneme, the sound that is corresponded with this particular grapheme is lost. And obviously, one clear answer as to why there is no dirgha could be that that is not what is spoken by people, which was not also noticed by, which is what is noticed by the great grammarians. And that is probably why there is no dirgha. Okay. So the next question is, which of the following words continues in Ami Purvaha from Ingi Pararupam? Okay. Can you please elaborate as to what follows and why? So this is a little tricky question, primarily because of the intention being to highlight the fact that when words continue in the subsequent sutras from the previous sutras, generally the independent words continue. But in Paninian grammar, there are some exceptions where even part of the word also get continued. So for example, and that is how Panini has arranged his grammar, which is some kind of peculiarity of his arrangement. So for example, if Engi Pararupam is the previous sutra, where Pararupa is a compound word, and generally if you have to continue something, you will have to continue the entire compound Pararupa. But this is not happening. This is what we have learned, and only Rupa or Rupam is continued. And so Purva is stated in the Sutra Amipurvaha, and the word Rupa continues from Engi Para Rupam. So that is what is meant in this particular question. So only Rupa is continued. Yeah. So in lecture 48, when I'm describing the Pratyahara Ngam, so it should be Ng, N, and N, and clearly not Ng, N, and M. So I'll rectify this. Evancha Ngam Pratyahare Nakara Nakara Nakaranam Antarbhavaha Makarastu Tatra Anubandhaha Ataha Makarasya Ngam Pratyahare Samavesho Nasti Tatra Vayam Nirdushtam Karishyamaha. There is one question about Shakandhvadi words. So this is a list of words that begins with the word Shakandhu. And and there are words like Karkandhu, Manisha, Halisha, Langalisha, etc., which are part of this particular Gana. So these are words which are collected together, which are having a common feature, namely the Pararupa Sandhi. And this Pararupa Sandhi is happening in a peculiar condition where the Purva element is not just one vowel, but it is a T part. It could be one vowel, but it could also be one vowel plus one consonant. In the cases of words in this particular Gana, they are almost examples where there is one vowel and one consonant, being the Purva Sthani, and the Parasthani is there, and in place of both, the Pararupa takes place. So that is the feature of the Shakandhu Adi Gana, Shakandhvadi Gana. And you will get a complete list of these Ganas if you refer to the texts like Kashika Vritti or the printed editions of the Vyakarana Siddhanta Kaumudi as well. So I thank Rupa Krishna for your good wishes about my health. I will surely take care and will prepare myself better. Will try to rectify the errors in this particular course also. So, do you have any other forum of your own or your contact email ID through which we can keep in touch with you regarding Paninian grammar? Sure. So, apart from my IITB teaching load, I am also engaged in teaching Paninian grammar to students every week, every almost every day also. Different texts I've been teaching, starting from Vaiyakarana Siddhanta Kaumudi up to the Vyakarana Mahabhashya and also the Vakyapadiya, etc. Um, So Malhar KU, MALHARKU @gmail.com is my email ID. And the other email ID is malharku, MALHARKU @hss.iitb.ac.in. Of course, you can get my email ID from our IITB web page, and I can provide other details in the email list also. I think you will have a recording of this session. So this is put live on the YouTube. So this will be available on YouTube. Yeah. So I profusely thank Kavita Madam, who says, with your methodical teaching and simple diagrams, the topic of Sandhi has been made very interesting. Just wish to give you a feedback, hoping to attend more courses like these in near future. Wishing you good health. Dhanyavada. So I profusely thank you, Madam. And okay. So I also thank Radhika Chaugule Madam for echoing the sentiments of Kavita Madam. Thank you very much. Thank you, Subbarao Thank you very much for your wishes. And as I, yeah, the Sandhi topic is otherwise considered to be very easy, but it is not so. It is a very difficult topic as well, where you have to pay attention to the nuances. What is essential is you should be able to pinpointedly and precisely figure out what is the substituent and what is the substitute. And then you can do even a play of a kind where you can go back and forth. I mean, you can form a sandhi and you can also dissolve it. And that helps you also figure out. And so I've given some examples where a same string is interpreted differently by different followers of different paths of even Vedanta schools. Okay, so that will come, I think, in the last week. I think I've given three examples, one of which I have already given in the initial lectures, Athato Dharma Jidnyasa and so on. Yeah, so my attempt is that you should feel that this course is easy, but as you will see that in order to grasp it, you may have to put some effort on your own and train yourself with some practice. I also thank Reverend Yoshi Shimada for the kind words. Thank you very much. Okay, it seems Sandhi rules are superimposed on what was the Shruti environment of the time. Can it be true? I'm sorry, I am unable to clearly grasp the import of your question. So you may have to elaborate what do you mean by Shruti environment? Because as far as the first part of the question is concerned, I can clearly say that Sandhi rules are not superimposed. They are rather part of the natural way the speakers speak. Like, for example, we Indians, uh, when learn English, we may say, I want to, but if I am an American, I may say, I wanna. So there is some process involved internally, I must say, but I wanna is not a superimposed kind of explanation or behavior. This is a natural behavior. Now, what Sandhi rules do is figure out the correlation of the segments and finds a pattern and then notes it down in the form of a rule. So this is not a superimposition. This is rather an explanation of the natural phenomena, which is part of the speech of a common man. Yeah. Shruti environment means during that time the vocabulary was only in speech. So I have been highlighting in my courses about the sentence being the unit that is being spoken, that is being derived. Of course, there is compositionality involved in it, but ultimately, as far as the belief of the school of grammarians is concerned, it is the sentence which is one, one unit, which denotes one meaning unit, also known as Vakyartha. Vakyartha. That is true. So we are not simply talking about vocabulary, we are rather talking about also sentence as a unit. And that is the reason why there is also a new concept that I have put forward in this course called Artha Sandhi. As I have been teaching in both my courses, I've been saying that it is the Artha which is obviously at the backbone of the Shabda that is produced. And likewise, just as we observe only the Sandhi in the Shabdas, there are Sandhis in the Arthas also. And many times they do correspond with the Shabda Sandhis. We obviously have rules for Shabda Sandhis. We soon might have also the rules for Artha Sandhis, and could also show the correspondence between the two. So towards the end of this session, I take this opportunity to thank, first of all, one second. Do we have sutras explaining Udatta, Anudatta, and Svarita elaborately in Ashtadhyayi? I would say there are Saudhnya sutras which tell you what is Udatta, what is Anudatta, and Svarita. Uchchair Udattaha, Nichair Anudattaha, and Samaharaha Svaritaha. These are the three sutras in 1.2, the second part of the first chapter, 1 to 29, 30, 31, I think. And you have commentaries elaborating on these sutras explaining the nature of Udatta, Anudatta, and Svarita. In case of Anudatta, there is also a question. Should it be one element or should it be non-Udatta? But that is a discussion that goes on. That is not covered in this particular course. You don't have to worry too much about that in this course. Would the exam be on same pattern as the assignments? Yes. There will be some additional elements. In the assignment, you didn't have multiple choice questions. In exams, you may get those questions also. So I think if you can remember if you study well the optional forms, I think you will be on the safer ground. So I was saying that I must thank the NPTEL for providing this platform to me to prepare the course and also to be able to interact with you. So Ravi, Devendra, Onkar, the team of NPTEL, I thank them profusely. I also thank the I also thank Dr. Iravati Kulkarni, who is working as TA of this course for helping me out in the preparation for this particular course. Thanks are also due to IIT Bombay, which has provided an excellent environment, and colleagues like Professor Pushpak Bhattacharya from CAC department, whose constant support and encouragement has enabled me to prepare this particular course. What is Anunasika? Anunasika is also defined in the Ashtadhyayi. What is Ananunasika? Ananunasika is a sound which is not Anunasika. So Anunasika is defined in the Ashtadhyayi 118 as Mukhanasika Vachanonunasikaha. So a sound which is produced through two places of articulation, namely the oral cavity as well as the nasal cavity, is called Anunasika. And a sound which is not produced through the nasal cavity is called Ananunasika. The other word for Ananunasika is Niranunasika. Both these words are used in the grammatical literature. Ananunasika and Niranunasika. And lastly, I would also like to pay my salutations, my homages to all my teachers. And my teachers, namely Pandit Vaman Shastri Bhagavat and Professor Shivram Shastri Joshi, S.D. Joshi, for having imparted to me valuable guidelines about Paninian grammar. Thank you very much. Thank you all. And I wish you all the best. So we will close here if there are no more questions. I wish you all the best for the exam and perhaps see you soon. Of course, with the course on Samasa in January. Thank you all. Thank you.